The truth about NIL. So much misinformation out there, so much myth, so much speculation, so much projection about where this is going and what needs to be done about it. Big Game James Coleman, he's a good source right here because he's involved, knows what he's talking about, as he typically does on the field. But now we go way off the field for what's happening on the business side for college football players since this all hit the streets on July 1st last year. Big Game, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Just happy to be here, guy.
Good.
Glad I got my sound working.
Got the sound working, looking clear, looking good. I can see the smile. That's what I like. Man, NIL. Okay. Let's take your situation with your group. Explain why you got into it, what you want to accomplish for yourself, for the athletes, and what's the mission, what's the purpose?
All right, well, the biggest thing with NIL, so just a lot of people are really having a hard time wrapping their mind around what it is. It's name, image, and likeness. And even as a player, and I'll say this, I think they should, but I don't necessarily agree with athletes being paid by the university unless there is a true uniform thing, just kind of like how the XFL, USFL, like those places have, everybody gets the same contract. But the one thing that I tell people that I really wish that I think is just criminal is that I didn't own my name. Like I could do nothing. Like take away football, I could not literally just be a normal person that's talented and make money off of being James Coleman. And from the neighborhood in which I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, around the same time that I was being considered, this NFL type prospect in college, there was a rapper by the name of Fahim Najim. I think that's how you say his last name. But we all know him better as T-Pain. And T-Pain took my godbrother, DJ Little Boy. He took one of my good friends, Jet Cohen, whose name is Jay Lyric, as an artist. And these guys became millionaires. The same age as me. And they created hits like Let Me Buy You a Drink, I'm in Love with a Stripper, whatever you like their music or not. But that stuff is still being talked about and played. So from 18, 19, 20 years old, they were able to use their name and their image and their likeness. And to this day, where we're all 38, 39 years old, they're still getting paid off of things that they were able to do at that age and make residual income and life-changing income. Whereas me, I have a monetized YouTube channel. I can't take the touchdown that most FSU fans know me for the most, which was against the University of Miami, where I probably got a lot of the issues that I have. It was a hit, but you can hear it through the broadcast when I hit Leon Williams. Great guy. But I scored that touchdown, and if I put that clip on my monetized YouTube channel, I can't get paid for it because it's Florida State license, it's all these different things. But you can see number 36, Coleman, is running through that end zone, and I don't own my name or my image or my likeness to this day. And that's criminal. I should have been able to do those things. And the market, it's the purest form of capitalism. The market dictates what you're worth, whether you believe in it or not. It's literally everything that you taught me all the way up through the years, what I teach my sons, what we portray on social media, what we talk about, where the lifeblood of being an American is to participate in capitalism, except for these guys. Everybody else participated in capitalism, but no, it's wrong now. Coaches can get paid tens of millions of dollars. Schools can get billion-dollar TV contracts, and everybody gets to participate in capitalism, and it's great, and the system's working, except for the people who are being leveraged to allow these people to be able to make this money. And I think how I got into it was because I heard a lot of complaints about people being taken advantage of, people not understanding this stuff. What are these guys going to do? And who better to teach guys how to move and function than guys who've been through it? And when I sat back and I looked at what this name, image, and likeness and what the NCAA is asking for, what the real rules are, what the regulations are, I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this is nothing more than what I do on a day-to-day in standard marketing contracts with radio and media. It's literally a clear ask and a clear gift. And if we can show these guys how to do this, we can show them how to make money for the rest of their lives. Because even though I wasn't able to benefit, and I still am not able to benefit from that touchdown directly, I can benefit from my name. I've been benefiting off my name, image, and likeness since I left college in some way, shape, or form. So why not show these guys how to do this and how to become relevant? Because I think we're in 2022. My last season was so 17 years ago. That touchdown was 17 years ago, and it still resonates with FSU fans to this day. So why can't I show young men and women? Because that's the key. Is what a lot of people are really neglecting, and they're showing their sexism and their misogynoir by neglecting the fact that there's a completely segment of the population who can really benefit from this stuff. And it's not just by getting checks from fans. It's fans. You can pay these athletes through your likes, retweets, views. There's opportunities going to different YouTube channels, their own YouTube channels. Like I want to build entire mini corporations for these young men and women and show them how you can eat for the rest of your life.
So James, if we go back to 2013, I posted a video in 2013, and that was during the whole Johnny Manziel deal. You know, he's signing autographs. Allegedly, the NCAA suspends him for a first half of a football game, but says they really didn't come to a conclusion that he was signing autographs, but they still punished him. And, you know, you put that together with Northwestern athletes trying to unionize, going to court. You've got Ed O'Bannon in that case. You've got the tattoo gate at Ohio State that would be a complete joke today. You've got all those things. And
AJ Green selling his jersey at Georgia. I mean, it's a lot of things that have gone on through the years.
And I'm no visionary at the time, but I'm saying, let's get ahead of this. These guys are the only people, as you just mentioned, these are the only people in America that cannot benefit from free market system for their name, image, and likeness. What is going on here? This has to be, we're not asking them to be paid $1 million a year by the university. We're talking about willing people that want to buy into their celebrity status and their marketability. They're Americans like everybody else. They should be able to capitalize. That's almost a decade ago. And the NCAA, nobody got ahead of this to say, let's build a structure that can benefit everybody, especially the athletes, of course. And now we're in this kind of wild, wild west situation, or at least it appears that way. And now you see the ACC commissioner, the SEC commissioner, the Pac-12 going to Congress and trying to backpedal on all this and get reins on it. The last comment I'll make before I cut you loose on this next portion of this conversation is, to your point, I think most college football fans a year ago or 2 years ago were saying these guys they're making billions of dollars for everybody else. They need to get paid in some way or shape or form. So in theory, most everybody was good with this. Now that they're seeing the amounts of money, as you well know, people are uncomfortable with people making more money than them. It's all well and good that, let's slip them 20 grand, but when it becomes 200 grand, I don't make that. There's something wrong with an 18 or 19-year-old making it. Well, who am I to dictate what the market is? If they can make it, they can make it. Good for them. Where do you think we stand on this? And does anything need to be done, or just for it to run its course?
I think, I've talked to a couple college coaches, and I talked to a strength coach at my university, and he had a very good, very, very good perspective on it. And it's new. So in 4 years, this won't be a problem because everybody would have had an opportunity to get NILs. So what the NIL is really for is for incoming freshmen and transfer guys. Unfortunately, and then guys who are good on their teams already. Like, if you're the third string long snapper, you can have a YouTube, you can monetize your Twitter, you can do other things that can make you money that you couldn't do in the past. But these deals aren't really for you because it's tough for you to get those deals. But as with everything, speculation is key. You want people to buy what they think you're going to be, and people in business want to buy early. So, but it's still business. It's an ROI. Nobody became a millionaire or a billionaire on accident, and by being overly philanthropic. Like, you can be philanthropic and give back, but ain't nobody giving these kids anything. It's a business. I'm giving you this money because I think I'm going to get 3 to 5%. Excuse me, 3 to 5 times more money than what I put into you. Like, I ain't just giving you no Lambo just because I like you. I'm giving you a Lambo because I need people to buy Lamborghinis when they see you or rent them or whatever the business model is. And here's my problem. And this is why I got into media in general. It's the misrepresent. It's the hold on. What's the proper way to say that? It's the commitment to misinforming the masses and the people who aren't willing to do the research. Their willingness to pick up on articles that they feel strengthen their position to feel insecure about what's going on. I put up a tweet the other day is that people love to see you doing well until you're doing better than them. And I think that's the problem, especially when the money doesn't affect you. My favorite artist, Jay-Z, has this bar: respect the game, that should be it. What you eat does not make me poop. Whatever you want to fill in the blank on that. But if McDonald's wants to pay my son or his friend because they're marketable, because they're a good athlete, that doesn't affect my bottom line. It's not hurting me. McDonald's is paying the money. They have advertising dollars. They're going to spend somewhere. So I have no problem with it, and I don't understand why a fan would have a problem with it, because it doesn't affect you, like, at all. Like, now I get why fans at some schools are like, well, we don't. They feel that they don't have the money to be able to compete with other schools, and I'm going to go out and say that it's not one. It was an article that got put out about hundreds of deals. So I want that to be put in perspective. Hundreds of deals have been made, not thousands, not millions, but hundreds of deals. It's not that many, and the numbers are few and far in between. And here's what you need to know about NIL deals. The athlete is not required to make public what they're making. The only people that they're required to report to are the university, so that they have and the university has a ledger, so that when the NCAA asks, they can show proof, in the IRS. So unless the athlete is showing you the contract, you don't know what they've made. And they're playing the game smarter than what you give them credit for, because they're not talking about what they made. They're letting you talk. So what you're saying is, you're inadvertently, the fan that is so concerned about how much money they're making, you're driving the market up because you're talking about it. And let's just think about some of these things. So, like, down in Miami and Texas are two of the bigger ones right now that are in the news. I have no quarrels with John Ruiz. If I was a billionaire, I would do what John Ruiz is doing too for Florida State. I haven't been on the other side of a deal with John Ruiz. They don't know, though. And one of the deals I saw on a message board, because the kid went to Miami, and another school stated that, oh, I heard the deal, the kid got $400,000, and they just outbid us. I can tell you with absolute certainty that my client did not get $400,000. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that most of these $1 million deals, these $2 million deals, there may be the ability to make that much money, but they're not that much money. A lot of these deals end up being no more than $50,000, $60,000 a year. And as I've always told people, you could change a student athlete's life most of these kids are looking for is between $3,000 to $5,000 a month. It's really not that much money in the grand scheme of things. Because the other thing is, you have to literally be able to show that you've done this. Because in the NCAA, the restrictions, that they don't need to do anything but enforce the damn rules. You cannot, and there's two real rules in all of this. Well, three. You cannot have a deal contingent upon you going to a university. So if the NCAA wants to show, enforce these rules. So there's the rumor of a kid getting $8 million to commit to the University of Tennessee. If that kid does in fact sign with the University of Tennessee, then that kid needs to be suspended until proof that his deal was not contingent upon him going to Tennessee. It'd be difficult to prove that because the Tennessee collective is the one who's allegedly behind this, and they're the ones who leaked the information. Now, and if that kid doesn't go to Tennessee, Tennessee should still be punished if said collective does not honor the deal that that kid got. That is a clear violation of the rules. I'm not making up anything. Don't want anything bad to happen to Tennessee. I'm just saying if that in fact happened the way that it was reported, that's a way that the NCAA can step up and show it. If, again, to bring up Ruiz, again, no beef, no quarrels with it. But if if Life Wallet is not giving any other NIL deals to any other players, then they need to have to be able to prove that all these guys that are at the University of Miami that have that have Life Wallet deals did not get coerced into coming to the University of Miami, and they're suspended upon proof that they can truly prove that these are active deals that are already there. That will slow up a lot of the corruption and a lot of the things that are going on with this stuff. And I want people to get paid. So I'm not trying to hate or doing any of those things. I'm just using real life examples of how they can do that. Because again, so you can't do that. You can't get paid for play. I cannot give you a deal that states if you throw for 5,000 yards that I'm going to give you an incentive or an escalator. That being said, if you throw for 5,000 yards, you're going to be talked about all the time. You're better marketable. More deals will come to you, but that can't be the only reason why I gave you that deal. And then lastly, again, there has to be a clear ask, a clear give, and based upon what the market, is it fair? Like I can't give you $20,000 to make an appearance fee unless you're a Heisman Trophy winner that comes back. Now I can go argue for my client that the average Heisman Trophy winner gets $15,000 in appearance. So that's an argument that I can make, but I can't say that for a 17-year-old. So with all of this being said is there's rules in place. They just haven't been enforced because this is what happens when the people who are normally in power, they get a little bit of their power kind of bucked or pushed on, they throw this temper tantrum or they put their head in the sand. And okay, well, since now y'all got what y'all want, now we're gonna be an adult and enforce the rules that these people have asked you, that the commissioners are asking for you. And I don't believe in caps because I don't really think the caps are necessary. And I will believe in caps if you cap everything. Cap how much money the University of Alabama can spend on recruiting. Cap how much money they can spend on building facilities. Cap how much college coaches can get paid. Cap how many, like if you're gonna cap everybody, make it fair across the board, but don't let everybody else participate in free market capitalism, and then only want the people who have been leveraged for the over 100 years that the NCAA has been in existence under the faux amateurism statutes. Because this is the crazy thing. This is how bad the NCAA was operating. The NFL will never be able to. It's going to be very difficult to get them busted on antitrust legislation, on the Sherman antitrust law. It's going to be difficult to get the NBA. It's going to be difficult to get NHL. All the other major organizations have literally stood the test of time for all of these things, except for the NCAA. Everybody's calling BS on their stuff. So everybody sees it but them, and they literally made a ruling against them, and it's hard to go back and get those rulings reversed with the Supreme Court. And it's just time that you just step up and just regulate the things that they've asked you to do, and force people to play by the rules. Because what's the worst that can happen? Miami pulls out the NCAA, Alabama pulls out. Like they've already threatened you with this anyway. So like either enforce the rules and run the risk of losing it, or don't enforce the rules and run the risk of losing it anyway. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. But as you've been proactive, like you just talked about 10, 20 years ago, you wouldn't be in the situation. Because I want to reiterate, guys were suspended not because they got paid by boosters. Guys were suspended because they sold a jersey that the university gave them so that they can feed themselves. Like, that's what happened. They sold championship rings that they didn't care about to be able to go get stuff that they did care about. It was their property that they sold, but they got in trouble. Hell, Ohio State lost a damn good football coach because some guys got tattoos. Not for free, just they gave something in exchange for that. And if they had their own name, image, and likeness, you wouldn't have been able to do these things. And again, another example. I just signed a jersey for a guy, the number 36 jersey from the years of 2000 to 2000, I think 2005, 2006, whenever they changed the jerseys up. There's only two people that wore that jersey during that time period. William McCray, who's a good friend of mine. Actually, we both live in Jacksonville. William McCray or James Coleman. When that jersey sold, ain't nobody from Florida State reach out to me and say, "Hey, James, this jersey sold. We're gonna give you $10." But no, then that person, that fan asked me to sign it. I said, "You get it shipped to me. I'll sign it. I'll send it to you." And now, who knows? It's probably worth less now, but that person could sell that jersey with my name on it and make a penny on it. But I can't. Again, I don't get the benefit from it. So, and I'm not in college and not getting it. And you can't tell me that little education that I don't use my degree, is what was a fair trade. Because again, what people don't know is all your college scholarship is the maximum grant and aid that university can give. So in theory, I could have solved some kind of math problem and made the same amount of money as I made for my education at Florida State as your top athletes. And so if like but that math student can go get a job. That math student can go do other stuff. Like it's just that the athletes can't. And the other big point, because again, everybody focuses on football, but they don't realize that softball and baseball are not full scholarship sports. But these guys are giving a full scholarship commitment. I think volleyball, basketball, men's and women's basketball, and football are the only full scholarship sports at a university. But soccer players, track athletes, softball are internationally recognized. And these guys cannot go and earn off of their name, image, and likeness as well. And when you're at like, I don't know, Vanderbilt, nobody cares. But I'm not trying to throw anybody on the bus, but like Florida State, we got a good softball team, good baseball team, good track athletes. Like those, and actually the ironic thing is with me, Canopy, my NIL collective, we'll sign football players. Don't get it twisted. I understand the game. But the only athlete we have is Michaela Editfield right now. We're getting her tons of deals. But she's appreciative, but she's not a full scholarship athlete. She's just she's gonna probably be the freshman of the year in all NCAA. And if it wasn't for name, image, and likeness, she would not be able to benefit off of being the freshman of the year. And what happens if her parents can't afford to pay for her in school? Like, what happens? Like, do we want a kid like her? And she's from Sneads, Florida. I don't go look up the demographic of that. That's country as backwoods as hell as you can get in Florida. She doesn't have rich parents. She's not a silver spoon kid. But now she can leverage her athleticism to even be able to do a softball camp. Just to make a couple $1,000s in the summer. Just to be able to, again, it's so many other ways that this stuff can be looked at. Everybody's focusing on, again, to quote, not my quote, article's quote, the hundreds of deals, not thousands. Hell, we got 500 student athletes at Florida State. Most schools have the same amount, if not a little bit more, a little bit less. If it were really that big of a deal, there would be thousands and thousands of deals. But it's not. And people are just afraid of what the future is. But people were afraid the internet was going to be was going to make everybody die, or the Jesus was coming back like in the next year. And we all thought that when the year 2000 hit, that was when the Terminator was going to happen. So just think about all the things that we've been afraid of in the past that were wrong, and just realize that that's what most people are at with the NIL.
James, I'm going to run two rules/situations by you. One you already alluded to. I'm going to let you know what I think about them. You tell me if it's justified, if it'll fly, if it makes sense, because one is very similar to what you just outlined. So it's my thought that if college athletes cannot have interactions with, dealings with an agent, or they become ineligible, in a similar way, it could be enforced that a student athlete in high school could not have interactions with an NIL suitor until they commit, sign, enroll, because the perception is, and it would be pretty obvious, that that would be a large component of your decision, right? If you're a high school football player and you can go just about anywhere, well, I can make this, that, here are my options in terms of, and my decision no longer becomes coachingship coaching relationships and where I want to play football and what location I like and what campus and what degree I want, and that sort of thing. The decision then becomes who's going to pay me the most money. I think that rubs people the wrong way, and that's no reason to legislate something.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I would feel better about this situation where everybody's still going to get paid, but that there was still a purity, for lack of a better term, to the decision made by the student athlete in high school as to where they're going, rather than it just being a bidding war. Then once they get to said, and they can gather all sorts of information about, this is a great place to go because there's a ton of NIL deals and opportunities and not so much here. And they're still going to have that information. But at least on the surface, at least the guidelines. Now, how much people are going to abide by the guidelines, that's going to be difficult to enforce, but at least give the impression that the student athletes in high school are making their college decision based on all the components that we're used to.
I think, and I understand what you're saying, but I want to, use this as the mythos of the bagman, right? For years, everybody's talked about the bag. Oh, this kid went to Georgia because I heard his mom's driving a Charger now. His mom had a Hyundai, 1985 Hyundai hatchback. I remember it was a story somebody told about me when I was in high school. My mother had a 1996 Nissan Altima, and she found when she got upset that I was walking to Madras. Madras 5 a.m. So that means I'm leaving my apartment at like 4:30 to make sure that I'm there on time. Pitch black. She's like, no, I don't want that. She went and got a Honda Accord for Proctor Honda in Tallahassee, and so it was like a 2003, I think, or whatever. Yeah, they just came out. People were like, oh, well, his mom had to have gotten, like, see, Florida State takes care of their players, because I'm like, shoot, I wish. I know for a fact Carmen paid for that, paid her hard-earned money for that. But what I mean by that is people have been talking about bagmen for years. So money has always been in college sports. The only difference is now it's clearly legal. And again, there's enforcement for what you were just talking about. And that's what the NCAA needs to do. One of the rules is you're not supposed to talk to collectives. You're not supposed to know what your NIL deal is going to be, because it cannot be contingent upon you signing to a university. The only things that it can do is a perfect example, say I manage a few student athletes on the side. I cannot go and say, well, if you go to Tennessee, they're going to give you this. And if you go to Florida State, they're going to give you this. Now, what I can say is that because you have 15,000 followers, Gatorade has said that they want to give you $10,000 upon you signing your deal. Doesn't matter where you sign. They just want to give you $10,000. I can do that, but I can't come up. I'm not supposed to be able to steer that. But it's kind of like baseball has had, again, there is something that we can look at. Baseball has advisors, and I've trained a lot of baseball athletes. They're legitimately not, they're an agent, but they're not an agent. But their job is to negotiate with scouts to see where you're going to get drafted out of high school. They're getting, like, I have a kid from out of Jacksonville that's a left-handed pitcher that throws 95, 96. He's a $750,000 to $1.5 million athlete if he gets drafted in the first 2 rounds, which he's got like a second, third round grade. How do I know that? Because I know his advisor. There's literally somebody actively trying to see if he can get to the MLB, which is smart. And if he doesn't go, he'll go to JU for baseball, I'm telling him don't go to junior college. So you throw 97, you get drafted next year. But my point in all of that is that people are worried about stuff that we've already seen how it works out, or it's already in sports. It just has never had oversight, and now it doesn't punish the student athlete. And I would love for there to be more purity, but I also think this. So even let's say hypothetically speaking, there's a kid that is a top quarterback in this 2023 class that somebody offered $1 million over 4 years, so it's $250,000 a year. The goal is to get to the NFL, because here's the reality: the rookie deals, I think rookie minimum this year is $650,000. So no matter what your NIL deal is, it ain't better than going to the NFL still. Like you still want to, because the 650 that you get from the NFL, all you got to do is go out and hit people. You don't have to post nothing to social media. You don't have to make appearances. You don't have to do anything. It's literally that. That's cut and dry. Go hit people, throw a pass really good, and I can make this minimum. If you're a $1 million athlete, then that means they're projecting that you have an NFL grade. So that means when you make it to the NFL, you're going to make more money. And then in 10 years, no, it's actually less than that. I think in like 6 years, the rookie minimum will be $1 million. So everybody's worried about this is going to take away the passion for sports. No, like I went to Florida State because I want to go to the NFL. Like not because I wanted to make a cut. Now, if I can make 6 figures en route to going to the NFL, that's great. But let's not get it twisted. If you focus on the NIL, you won't go to the NFL, and this will be all the money you make. But if you focus on the NFL, you know what's probably going to happen? You're probably going to get some NIL deals, and a lot of these deals, like there's only 10, maybe 20 athletes. That's big, right? On a college roster that are going to really benefit from this stuff like that. Most of the guys are there for what you're supposed to be there for. And if they get some extra benefits, they get it. But those guys are already getting, whether it's from an agent or a booster, because agent money starts flowing after your sophomore year, and they think you got a draft grade, and they want you to come to them. So they're paying you already. So like a lot of this stuff is, like we see it in baseball, but it's only startling because it goes back to like now some people that we just liked because we thought it was the purity of the game, are now going to get a chance to participate in it in ways that we never thought would be imaginable. And it's a little haterism sprinkled into that. But I'll say this. This is the other way that I get a lot of people not to come on board, because I really don't care if you're on board with my thought process or not, because it's here. Like the NIL is here. It's not going back. We can't push it back. It's out. It's like the can of worms. It's Pandora's box is open. But if you're a Division I athlete, again, we'll keep it to Division I. You're a Division I athlete. You're at least in the top 2% of all athletes that came out of high school. Mark, if we were the top 2% podcast, we'd be able to call our number, name a number, and people will give it to us. If you're the top 2% of anything, shoots and ladders players, you're the top 2%. Somebody's going to pay you for that. If you're the top domino builder or like, whatever, like you can get paid for that. We don't have any fear. Like you're literally considered, you might not be the best, but you're considered one of the best. And then to leverage it on pros, I mean, the pros are the 2% of the 2%. So that's why they're getting paid. Like this is why, like it's entertainment. And if you didn't really like it, or if you're really fearful and you want to change the system, I will tell you how to change the system. Stop watching sports. Stop being entertained. All of this goes away. The problem is, much like when people were boycotting the NFL which was the wildest thing, there were white people boycotting the NFL because players were kneeling, and then there were black people boycotting the NFL because Kaepernick wasn't playing, and that's why guys were kneeling. Mind you, the NFL has seen like crazy numbers in viewership, and they're negotiating deals that are 3 and 4 times bigger because they know that the American mindset, America needs their gladiators, or Rome needs their gladiators. And they also know they're playing the long game. These are 10, 20-year contracts. Ain't none of y'all, either you're going to be dead or you're going to forget why you were mad over that course of 10 years, and you're going to go back to watching it. But I think I say that kind of being facetious, but these athletes are smarter than what we give them credit for. And it's really the numbers that the average guy who's getting these deals are nowhere near as astronomical as what people think. And if they are getting them, so what? If you're a 5, do you know how difficult it is to be a 5-star prospect? They naming thousands of 5 stars. That kid may not ever be as hot as he'll be as that 5-star prospect. And now the whole purpose of going to college and getting a degree so that you can earn money and that you can feed your family. So if you get it at 18, like I'd love to make it to, like people talk about Travis Hunter and allegedly got $1 million or whatever from Barstool, and I don't know how much he got. Don't really care. But if people are like, oh, he made a mistake, I say, shoot, I'd love to make $1 million mistake at 38. Let me make $1 million mistake right now. I'll be grateful for it. And this thing of age, again, I have friends who were millionaires when I was in college. I've got friends who are having tax issues that are my age now. Like, age don't prepare you for money. It's like, it's whether, no matter when you get it, it's a lot of people that aren't prepared for it when they do get it. But again, I always say, and that's why Mikanopi 1851 is here. If you're really concerned about the student athlete, and that's really where your concern is, step up and help these young men and women navigate this process and provide guidance, provide advice. Like, that's the best way to be able to do this, because the cool thing is that we're going to see a bunch of people who normally don't get to contribute on this side of it get to reap the benefits, and I think that's awesome. Again, the market dictates what your worth is, and I think this is capitalism working in a perfect form.